right now. There we go. So now we are recording, okay? So let's talk about just a few things that I want to make sure we're super clear on. Number one, hi, I'm Erin Stoney. I am your facilitator, your online facilitator. I'm the national lead for the group fitness program. I apologize for not being able to be with you last week. We were actually legally unable to work as hourly employees. So I was actually not even allowed to email you, which was really breaking my heart because I'm a big believer in communication and clarity and over communicating. So like what, you got at least 2 emails from me just today, right? Like in the last couple of days, I think it's been 3. So be prepared. I love to have clarity, especially because there are so many moving pieces in this program. And not only are you going through many, many moving pieces, but I'm sure a lot of you are trying to maneuver through homeschooling with children, grandchildren, whatever. We're all trying to maneuver all of these different pieces. So I will try to be as clear as possible. And if I'm ever not clear and you're confused, please reach out. Absolutely. And don't be embarrassed about it. We're not going to do that to each other, okay? So that's another big thing I want to talk to you guys about today. From this point on, moving forward, we are not going to be afraid of failing in front of each other, okay? We're not going to be afraid to ask dumb questions. We're just going to let it all hang out, showered or not. From here on, we are a group and we are in this together. So there's no dumb questions. Confusion, there's nothing wrong with confusion. There's nothing wrong with struggle, because I will be very honest with you, there will be points where you will struggle in this 8-week program. That's normal, okay? And I guarantee you, if you're struggling, somebody else is too, really. So we're not gonna be afraid of that. We're not gonna be afraid of failure. We're just gonna keep moving forward together. Okay, so I'm Erin, and here's the way that our rhythm is going to work on Tuesdays moving forward. I know last week you got a little extra hour with Sheena, which was awesome, and thank God she was able to step in. She runs our personal training department, so she is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm glad that she could be with you last week. I will not be running anything from 6 to 7 p.m. That was just something we had to do last week to make sure you guys were cool, comfortable, and going on. From here on out, it is 7 p.m. We start our weekly review webinar, presentation / interactive time together. As soon as we are done with that, and sometimes it's shorter and sometimes it's longer, it depends on the subject matter. As soon as we're done with that, then we will have office hours. So generally speaking, 7 to 8 is our webinar, and then 8 to 9 is office hours. That being said, there will be some optional awesomeness moving forward in the next few weeks, and I will let you know exactly what weeks we'll do this for, but I will do an optional music educational forum presentation for you, which has a high level of value for people that are really wanting to dig a little bit deeper into the music side of being a group fitness instructor. Everybody wink if you're down with that, right? Yeah. I see you. You're all like, yeah, we need some of that. So there's going to be some additional stuff and resources for you moving forward. I will always try to be very clear about when that's coming up. But in general, webinar, office hour, Tuesday nights, Central Time. That's an important one. Okay, then the other thing that we're going to talk about today more at length is what is Saturday going to look like, our very first live lab. So I'm going to dig into that at the end of our presentation today, and I have some very specific answers for you, so be ready for that and try to stick around if you can to the very end. Okay, those of you that have a liquid, maybe 1, maybe 2, and have your notes, thumbs up. Okay, we're ready to learn, rock and roll. Okay, here's what I like to do during the first week, but since I wasn't here during the first week, you get to see it on the second week. Do you see these? Yes. These are your new lenses. Such a good visual, right? I actually wear those when I'm on the back of my husband's motorcycle. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is, having me on the back with those rainbow goggles on? It's beautiful. Anyways, those are your new lenses. So from here on out in this journey, when you are watching group fitness classes, participating in them, maybe you've been doing some of that online, which awesome if you have, you're going to have different lenses on. You're going to be focusing on looking at those classes with the eyes of a learner instead of with the eyes of a participant. Okay, so those are our lenses as we keep going forward. All right. let's do our presentation. Dun, 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 Lifetime Academy Week 2. And now you know why I am not a professional singer, okay? Don't worry, I could be a professional whistler, but we've all got our special skills. Okay, guys, here we go. Week 2, what is our agenda? Well, first thing is we are going to be reviewing last week's assignments, okay? So the very first week, what you got into, we are going to be reviewing everything from last week, okay? So that's chapters 1 and 2. The things that I sent you as a reminder of to get onto are for this week. Okay, we're not talking about chapter 3 and kinesiology this week, but if you've had any chance to dig in to chapter 3 so far, you know that next week's webinar is going to be the most important webinar of our whole session. Please do not miss next week's webinar. It is a huge amount of information and it is very detailed, complex information. Chapter 3 is the toughest chapter you're going to come across. I'll never lie to you about that stuff. But it goes right into the same category of we are not going to run away from challenges, okay? We're going to take that head on right at the beginning of this session, right at the beginning of these 8 weeks. We're just going to go for it. But today, chapters 1 and 2, a little bit more lighthearted. It's going to be good stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about intros and outros. We're going to briefly discuss music resources, just enough so that you can dip your toes in the pool that is music resources, because it's a very deep, very big pool. And then, of course, lab info for Saturday. Side note, if you do come up with questions in the middle, go ahead and drop it into the chat box. We're going to call it the parking lot. And I will check it from time to time and see if maybe it's something I missed or am maybe going to get to. There will also be times when I will have you type answers into the chat box. So be ready for that. Dun, dun, dun. Wait a minute. How many of you guys still have really nice nails? But ladies, sorry, not the gentlemen. Don't worry, you're exempt from that. I'm kind of impressed. Mine are so janky right now. It's ridiculous. Yeah, like what is that? Pink, hot pink? Yeah, I see it. Janky. There's too many like little kids around, but you know what kind of people have nails like this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm in that category now. It's terrible. All right, review. So let's go to our chat box. And hopefully you've had a chance to think about what kind of a group fitness instructor do I want to be? I would love for everybody to just type in one characteristic that you love about your favorite group fitness instructor. Just picture that person. What's like one amazing characteristic that they have that you would like to emulate? Funky, motivating, kind, energetic, positive, motivational, motivating, encouraging, high energy, motivation. See, now we're starting to see some commonalities, aren't we? Creative, encouraging, positive, energetic. All right, are we starting to see how like maybe all of us are kind of thinking about this similar person that has at some point been in our lives, maybe still is, that we've looked to and been like, I would love to be like that. I would love to have that and to be that kind of an instructor. You can do that now. This is your chance to kind of start from scratch and be the kind of group fitness instructor that you really, really want to be, the kind that you know really does motivate people. Okay, next question for the chat. I'm not even going to ask those questions right there, but what is your favorite format to take as a participant? Barbell, hit, dance, Zumba, hit, bar, warrior sculpt, barbell strength, cardio kickboxing. Finally, somebody says cardio kickboxing. Thank you. Ringside. Ooh, solid core. Kettlebell, extreme. You guys, I love how diverse this group is. Anybody a big fan of cycle? Amp. No, yes. No, yes. Love it. I cannot ride a bike at all. Kelsey, are you the kind of person that would ride your stationary bike and manage to fall off in the middle of class? It's okay. That's okay. That's okay. You can have your favorites and you can have your non-favorites as well. That's a good thing to know about yourself. Like if you're not interested in cycling, that's okay. If you are not interested in yoga, that's okay. Don't tell your yogi friends though, because then they'll be really mad at you. Just keep that on the down low. Cool. But my thought for you then is you've got some of your favorites. Have you done something new at any time in recent history? Have you actually stepped into maybe a yoga studio and tried a yoga class? Maybe you've never taken a cycle class, and it would be a good idea now to start exploring in the ways that you can. I know we're really limited right now, but start thinking about that for the future too. Oh, I love it. Some of you are like, yeah, I've been trying new things. This is great. Yes, strike. Oh, Danielle, you took strike. Okay, in case y'all didn't know, here's something that's interesting about me so that you know where I'm coming from. I'm celebrating my 7-year anniversary with Lifetime this month. And when I first started, strike was the class that I wanted to teach. When I first started teaching it, number one, I sucked at it, because when you start teaching, you're going to suck for a little while. Just take that into your heart, accept that as part of the way we go. But I started teaching strike, and I said to myself 7 years ago, I want to be a strike master trainer. That wasn't even a position back then. And sure enough, 2.5 years ago, that's exactly what I got to be. So strike is definitely my all-time favorite class. So think about that though too. In 7 years is it. I went from a total newbie to master trainer for numerous formats. You could do that too. I'm just going to plant that little seed in your heart. Cool? Yeah, strike is the bomb. Okay. Now, I know that you guys talked a little bit with Sheena about mentorship. I know it's a little difficult right now to be in a situation where you can ask somebody to be your mentor, because you're not seeing anybody really face to face right now. However, one route that you might be able to take is, if you are close to a group fitness instructor, and maybe you could talk to them a little bit about their journey. If you've never asked them what their journey is, how they got to where they are, why they wanted to be a group fitness instructor, connecting with somebody like that outside of me would be a wonderful idea. Absolutely. So if you have that opportunity, take it and see if you can set up a Zoom call or a FaceTime call. Message them on Facebook or something. Connect with those people, because they're sitting around all day too. I'm sure that they would have some time to chat with you. Oh, I love that. My instructor's been with me every step of the way. That's great. You have 2. They're happy to. I love that. And, if you don't right now, it's okay. We'll get there. Okay. I love that. You guys, you are an awesomely active group. This is going to be really fun and dope this time. Okay, let's get serious. Chapter 1, the group fitness industry. All right. Knowing your role. Being a group fitness instructor, this is what we all want to be. This is where we want to end up after all of this and taking our test. It's going to require the ability to create, teach, assess, correct, and modify movement for multiple participations at once. I mean, that's a mouthful, right? Like, I can just read that on this slide and it sounds amazing and textbooky, right? But being a group fitness instructor is so much. It really is so much. There's often a misunderstanding for how many different pieces we have to put together just to teach one class. We've got to have musicality. We've got to understand proper movement. We've got to understand motivational phrasing. We've got to be able to verbally cue, non-verbally cue. We've got to be able to be on stage, be off stage, be funny, be serious. We've got to be able to troubleshoot any technical issues that pop up. What if your mic stops working? You've got to be able to look the part and be able to be the example. You have to be uplifting. And do you see where this is going? Right? There's a lot of pieces. So this is just one way of talking about, you're going to need to be able to create workouts, teach workouts, assess your participants, and in the middle of a workout, adjust. You're going to be able to correct your people and modify for them on the spot by just simply looking at them and seeing there's a dysfunction. This person's not understanding this cue. Adjusting everything on the fly. Okay? And the difference between us and personal training is that we're doing it with large groups of people. They get to do it one-on-one. So we have a slightly different skill set than they do. Okay? All right. Here's something we do have to talk about. What is your scope of practice? We are referring now to what we can do legally and ethically based on what certifications and education that we do have. And this is just based off your basic group fitness instructor, Group X certification. You may deepen your knowledge and education at any point. and then you will have a larger scope of practice. But as for right now, we are not going to be diagnosing health conditions. We're not going to be writing nutrition plans unless you're a registered dietitian or a nutritionist officially. And we're not going to be prescribing treatments for individuals. Kind of a catch-all phrase you're going to want to have in your back pocket is, oh man, that's really interesting. You know, that's not really my expertise. I should refer you to ... Okay? It's okay to say, I don't know. And we have to be okay with that too. People will come to us for every answer to every question, for their physical health, for their nutritional health. The crazy questions that you get when you're a teacher, you'll start to see. It gets to be a little bit crazy. There are some things that you can answer, and there's some things that you shouldn't answer because it could get you into legal trouble. And that's the last thing we want. So keep that in mind. Let me turn my page here. I don't have my glasses on. I realize I left them upstairs. Just pretend I didn't say that. Good. So if you ever do want to go deeper into your scope of practice, let's just go ahead and get some continuing education so that you're rock solid with that. And so you have 2 feet to stand on for that information and that advice that you're giving. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, that was so serious. Let's move on. All right, class prep. Man, this is something we're going to be talking about a lot because really when you're on stage, that's this much of what you've done. The prep is all the other stuff, right? This is kind of a big category, my friends. So class preparation and instruction includes all the things an instructor must do to plan, practice, prepare, and deliver a class. So open up your chat box. Let's talk. What do you think is one important thing that you should do to prepare for teaching a group fitness class? Music, choreography. Ready with batteries. Yes, know your routine, sequence, format, practice, purpose, memorizing, warm up and cool down, transitions, knowing your audience, cues. Yes. Yeah, these are all great answers. Practice saying it out loud. Okay, here's another question. And you don't have to answer this in the chat box, but just think about it. Have you ever been in a class where it was pretty obvious that the instructor did not prep for class? Yeah, it happens. Let's not be that instructor. Just put on your happy face. We're going to be 100% prepared. Preparation is what is going to make you professional. Remember how that felt when you were in that class and you were like, Jesus, this person didn't even write a workout. They didn't, what's this music they're playing? You felt like they didn't care about you. Like you as a participant weren't worth their prep. So it's like that quote, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how they made you feel. And if you're not prepared, you're indicating to your people that you don't care. So preparation is key. Awkward. Karen, it's awkward. That's what my 9-year-old says to me once in a while. She goes, awkward. And I'm like, what? Me? No. All right, so class prep is going to be super important, but don't worry, I'm going to teach you how to do that, okay? Because let me tell you, class prep can seem super overwhelming. Like right now, you guys were really good at listing some of the things that you would want to do, but it's kind of like, where do you start with that list? How do you even start creating your class plan when there's like 17 things for you to take care of, right? What's home base? What's your foundation? So we're going to talk about that, okay? Evaluating exercises. AFA's 5 questions. This is probably something that's pretty important for the test at some point in the future, right? Just a thought. Don't worry, it's not a dry cough. We're good. All right, if you PESMA this workout, you'll be a well-prepared instructor, okay? So now this is the lens that I'm talking about. When you go take classes or watch classes on YouTube or whatever, this is the lens that you're going to start using. Like, what were the 5 questions that that instructor, how did they answer these questions when they were putting together their own workout plan? What is the purpose of this? Is it effective? Are the movements effective? Is it actually going to hit my goals? Are my movements safe? Or even, is the environment safe around me? Can we maintain these movements for long periods of time, or whatever the plan is? You know, is it appropriate? Is everything that I'm doing appropriate for the plan? So those are kind of general, but we're going to dig deeper now. Okay. All right. What is the purpose of this exercise? Okay. Considering, what's your class objective? Are we strength? Are we endurance? Are we cardio class, conditioning, power class, flexibility, skill development, stress reduction? So some of us that really like the high intensity classes forget that there's a whole nother group of classes that do things like reduce stress or increase flexibility, right? Or maybe specific skill development. A kettlebell combine class, for instance, if you're lifetime people, would be a power development. And there's some technical skills that have to be developed inside a class like that. So we have to start thinking about these other pieces of what we're doing. So what's the purpose of this exercise? Are you doing the exercise effectively? And yes, that means you too. Are you the model? Are you giving proper range of motion? Are you going the proper speed? Your body position against gravity. That always makes me think of being a mom. If you're a mom, you know what I'm talking about right now. If not, don't worry about it. Efficient posture and safe equipment use. So these are all things that you have to be able to do, but then you have to flip that card and say, wow, can my participants do that as well? Can they do the exercise effectively? Notice I didn't say perfectly, because guess what? You'll never have a class that does every exercise perfectly, but effectively, right? And that also dribbles into the next question. Does the exercise create any safety concerns? Can they do the exercise safely? Okay, potential stress areas. Barbell strength, for instance, putting in our squat track, people will put up to 40 pounds on their back in a group fitness arena. Now that's a lot of stress on the traps. And if they don't understand where it's going, that stress can become a little bit too much and it no longer makes that exercise effective. Okay, environmental concerns, like for instance, doing a Zumba class on the turf. Ooh, environmental concerns. Turf is not really great for twisting movements. Your knees are gonna be jacked, yo. So thinking about your environment, that plays a role as well. Movement control. You know, are people going to be able to move in a controlled factor? Are you going to have them sprinting from one side of the room to the other? Do they actually have room to do that effectively, safely? So, and I'm just giving you some examples. If you keep thinking about what your first format that you want to teach is, you can start coming up with your own answers for that format as well, just to start thinking about that kind of stuff. Question 4, can you maintain proper alignment and form for the duration of this exercise? Okay, so form, dynamic posture, that just means posture while you're moving, right? Stabilization, do you have the core power and the core stabilization to do these movements? That's a big factor when we lift heavier. Balance, that's a huge factor. Actually, when you're training to become a personal trainer, they will talk about stabilization and balance being the foundation of all of the other movements that you add on. If you don't have the stabilization muscles in your knees, in your shoulders, in your core, you really can't do other exercises effectively. And what will end up happening is you'll end up with a whole bunch of kinetic dysfunction, which is just a fancy way of saying your body gonna be jacked and you ain't gonna be able to get it straightened out, right? So we gotta have some of these basics happening. Question 5, for whom is the exercise appropriate or inappropriate? Okay, so again, think about the format that you wanna teach. Okay, because I'll think about my hydro fitness class on Fridays. So right away, you know that the demographic is going to be different than my strike kickboxing class, right? Although I will say I do have an 85-year-old in my strike kickboxing class, and she's freaking amazing. So it's important to know your whole crew, right? All right, but a hydro fitness Friday, okay? I need to think about the exercises I'm doing in that class. Are they appropriate for those people? My median age in there is probably about 63, 65. Okay, so I'm thinking about that. Risk to benefit ratio. Come back to that all the time. Okay, when you're choosing a movement, Are you choosing it just because it looks fancy and you saw somebody on Instagram doing it? Like, I don't know, I've seen people doing, oh God, like a barbell thruster into a barbell backflip, like doing a backflip with the barbell in their hand, like into a burpee, down, jump over, do a somersault, and then stand on somebody's shoulders. And you're like, why? Well, it's just for the gram, you guys. That is terribly inappropriate, okay? The risk to benefit ratio is skewed to the max, right? Thinking about your participants and where they're at, you know, think about the gym that you're at. Is it a new gym? Do you tend to have people that are just coming in and getting started on their fitness journey? Or do you have people like our extreme class? Most people that are coming into our extreme class are pretty advanced. You still have to plan for the other end of it, but knowing the general spot for your participants helps you plan your workout. Okay, and then any limitations noted by the participant. We'll talk more in detail about modifications and how to do that at a later time. But for now, those are the 5 questions. Let's do something in the chat box. Why not? All right, you can see here on the right that we have 6 different movements, okay? I would like to start with, we're gonna start with our purpose. What is the purpose of the jumping jack? Just keep it just 3 words max. Purpose, cardio, heart rate. Warm up, heart rate elevation, heart rate going. Warm up usually could be used during the warm up. Increase heart rate. Cool. Okay, so let's be clear too. When we're talking about the purpose of something, right? The correct answer here would be to increase the heart rate. That's the correct answer, like textbook answer. When we would use it would be a slightly different question, okay? But the purpose is going to be to get the heart rate to go up, to elevate. Okay, let's just do one more purpose. Purpose of a push-up. Yes, we're going to go with strength on this one, to increase strength. Okay, and we could get more specific and say increase upper body strength, increase chest strength or tricep strength. So that's the purpose though. That's a strength movement. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. Effective. We'll go back here so you can see this. Are you doing the exercise effectively? Okay. All right. This one I'm going to have to actually do some demonstrating. I'm going to be doing it. You tell me if I'm doing it effectively. That means full range of motion. Correct. Not too far off, but that's not full range of motion. Full disclosure, I have a knee injury right now, and that is why. Okay, but you're noticing, like you look at it, and I saw the way you guys were looking. You're kind of like, uh-oh, is this a trick question? Is she? No, I can't do a full range of motion lunge right now, so it's okay for you to be able to see that. Okay, so I cannot do it effectively. You would then need to adjust my workout on the fly. All right. Creating any safety concerns. Think about what I just did on the lunge. Was there any safety concerns about how I was doing that? Yeah, oh, yeah, yes, I was standing on a chair. Unstable. Yep, don't elevate. Scary. Yeah, that just cuts to the heart of it. Little scary. Yeah. Yeah, so that was not safely done at all. Okay. So maintaining and appropriate. So let's do one more. We're going to go to appropriate for this one. For whom is the exercise appropriate or inappropriate? Grapevine is the exercise. List one kind of person that would be appropriate for. Ah, Jill, you cut to the heart of it. So you guys you're listing the right answers, right? Dancers, kids, beginners, anyone, someone without balance issues, someone without knee issues. Yeah, so grapevine is a pretty beginner movement. That's good for most people, absolutely. But then you would want to keep in the back of your mind, well, if somebody just had knee surgery a few months ago, it's probably not the best movement for them, right? Or if somebody has crazy vertigo, right? Those little one-off things to just kind of know about the different movements. All right, nice job, you guys. Chapter 2. Look at that, we're flying. Yeah, I say we cheers to that. And if you're drinking alcohol, I won't tell anyone. I'm not. This is supposed to be some sort of healthy drink. I don't know. It says it has like hemp in it. It's not very good. It's not. But my husband works for Walgreens and he gets to bring home all of these like weird drinks that they try in the Walgreens stores. And some of them are really nasty. And I'm like, that's why that didn't survive. No, there's no alcohol in it. There's not even any caffeine in it. So lame. All right. Now we're going to start talking about some of the basics of exercise science, physiology, kinesiology. This is kind of going to build your foundation for chapter 3, which again, if you haven't gotten into, you're going to get into it starting tomorrow, and you're just going to start plowing through it piece by piece. Okay? There we go. Okay, kinetic chain. You've probably heard this together as buzzwords before. The kinetic chain is just the combination and interrelation of all 3 of your major body systems, okay? It has to do with the alignment is the base from which the body can effectively generate and accept force. So just think about that for a second. Force. Force is what we generate anytime we move, lift things, stand up, sit down. Any kind of movement that we do produces force in some way or another. So the kinetic chain is the base for all of our movement. That's really all it's saying. Now, before movement can effectively and safely occur, it is important to consider the role of proper kinetic chain alignment, both when standing and sitting, okay? So this is where we want to start learning about how do we cue proper form for our students. So now we're going to start tying it into your everyday job as a group fitness instructor a little bit here. Okay, it's important to know the kinetic chain so that you can do that cueing that's effective and that helps everybody stay safe. Okay, first of all, notice the new word here, anterior. Anterior, fancy word for the front side. It's the front side. Cool? Cool. All right, the anterior view, feet shoulder width apart, and this may change in some movement depending on the exercise. This is just like home base. These are the cues you want for home base. If you have been in barbell strength, this is what we call the 5-point stance. We start every single barbell strength class with a 5-point stance. So your feet shoulder width apart, that's the bottom. Then we move up, your toes are pointing the same direction as the knees for the most part. Okay, in real life, some people need to have a slight toe turnout. That's because of their hip structure. So allow for some of that individuality to be in this cue. That's okay. And maybe next time you're standing in the kitchen, just try to find out where your toes point. Mine point out a little bit more. That's okay, as long as that's the right alignment for your hip structure. Okay, so your legs may be straight or bent, but they're not locking out. Okay, we're not just locking those suckers out or hyperextending them. They're in a gentle tenseness. Abdominal muscles are engaged and the rib cage is lifted. Okay, this isn't sucking in your stomach, right? Like we all do when we're putting on our tight clothes for date night, looking in the mirror. Ugh. No, this is an actual engagement of the muscles, okay, in the front, which will also naturally engage the muscles in the back side of the core. So you're going to have all of it engaged, nice and tight. It's almost like being prepared to take a punch at any given moment from any given angle. Okay, one of the best cues I've ever heard for this was an instructor that had 5 older brothers. And she said, at any given moment in my life, I had to be ready to get punched when I was turning a corner. And that stuck with me ever since. I was like, yeah, 5 older brothers. Whew. So just thinking about some of the cues for that. How would you like to relate that movement, that abdominal engagement? How would you like to talk about that with your people? Okay, because real life moment here, this is a side note. Saying engage your core, group fitness instructors know what you're talking about. Personal trainers know what you're talking about. Elaine, right, who's in the back corner and hasn't worked out in 20 years, has no idea what the hell you're talking about. Okay, so find a different way to talk about it so that she understands. Get ready to take a punch to the gut, Elaine. Okay, so we're always going to be thinking about how can we cue these things so that everybody in that room understands what I'm talking about. Cool? All right, shoulder blades are slightly down, neither rounded forward nor excessively pulled back. And I'll be honest, you guys, this picture to me looks like he's actually got them excessively pulled back a little bit. Anybody else? Maybe just a little. Maybe that's his vertebrae structure a little bit too. Who knows? But yeah, he kind of looks like he's like in the King's Army or something. Should be wearing a red coat, kind of a red shirt on. Okay, so we don't want to necessarily be showing off, but we also don't want to be rounded out either. We need to find a happy neutral. So this is basically how somebody who has a healthy kinetic chain stands. We haven't done any moving yet at all. Okay. Lateral view. Lateral is a fancy word for side. Okay, side view. And now we see the difference here in where his spine is. Straight vertical line from head to feet. Okay, it doesn't mean everything is straight. You'll notice there's still a nice natural curve to his spine. There should be. There is a natural curve to our spine. But there is a straight line between his head and his shoulders and his hips and his heels. He's standing straight. Your head is held high, ears are in line with the shoulders, spinal column in ideal alignment. There's 4 natural curves, okay, and none of them are excessive. Now, in a presentation next week, I think we get to the details of it, but you will notice right here there are 3 pictures. The first one is a good kinetic chain, right, rock solid. The next one, we can see that pelvis is tilted too far on the back side, okay, and you can see because there's an excessive curve in the lower spine. This is called lordosis. Lordosis, okay? One way to remember that is if you can think about like a snooty French lord from the 1700s, and this is what he would look like if he was walking around, right? Snooty lord. That's kind of where you want to remember it from. So he's got his butt sticking out. And he's kind of walking forward with his head held high and his nose in the air. Okay, then we have the other one where we have the over curvature in the upper spine. Okay, and you can notice this is what you see a lot. This is called kyphosis. This is what our society has in general. Why? Okay, so this is what you're going to see more frequently. We'll talk more about how are you going to recognize it and what power do you have to help change it or not. All right, so those are the 5 points of contact that we want to talk about: the feet, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, the head. Okay, that's our kinetic chain alignment, 5-point stance from the bottom up. So it's easy to just quick talk about that. How does it look standing? Well, you've seen the visual. Check yourself in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth tonight and just see what you look like laterally in the mirror. Or check out maybe your roommate, whoever that might be. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a kid. Maybe it's a lizard. That's cool too. They all have bones and kinetic chains. Check it out. How does it look when moving, right? What should you look like when you're moving? Are you able to maintain your kinetic chain? And then what can affect it when you're moving? Just things to think about. Okay, I love the planes of motion. And let me give you the why. Why do you need to know this crap? Well, number 1, because it's going to be on your exam. Okay, all right, cool. Number 2, because when you are a group fitness instructor, it is going to be your responsibility to make sure that your people are moving in all 3 planes of motion during your class. Gotta have it, absolutely. So when we talk about things like functional fitness, it really just means make sure that people are moving in the ways that they move in their real lives, in all three planes of motion, okay? We have the sagittal plane, okay? And I'm gonna help you guys figure out how to remember this stuff too, because it can be confusing. This divides the body into right half and left half. Movements are forward and backward. So here's how you're gonna visualize this, okay? This line that's running through the model in the picture. Now imagine it's separating into two and now it's creating a hallway, okay? This person has a hallway with two walls right here. This hallway is manipulating which direction they can move in. They can only move forward and backward, okay? Examples of this kind of movement: walking, cycling, squatting down and up, okay? That being said, pull out your chat. Oh, interactive education. Pull out that chat. Can anybody think of any other movements that you would do only in the sagittal plane? Running. Squat jump, running. Frontal lunge, walking lunges, reverse lunges, bicep curl. Ooh. Farmer's walks. Wait, Kellemer. That's an amazing answer. I love farmer's walks. Nobody ever says that. Yeah. All right. Oh, deadlift. Yeah. Okay. So good. We got some weightlifting movements in there too. Yoga chair. Yes, that's a good one, Tiff. See, I like it when you guys bring in some of those other perspectives as well. It helps everybody learn all different kinds of movements. Okay. So those are all really great answers. Love it. Now, let me help you remember though, because when we go to the next slide, it's going to start to get confusing. Sagittal plane. Is anybody a Sagittarius in here? Anybody? Yeah, a couple. Okay, so Sagittarius, right? You've all heard of this in our zodiac signs. I am not, I'm a Taurus, so do not mess with the bull. However, the Sagittarius is shooting a bow and arrow. That bow and arrow can only go forward, right? So that's how you're going to start remembering this, is that it's sagittal plane is related to Sagittarius, who draws the bow and arrow and can only fire it forward. Elbow comes backward, arrow goes forward. That's how you're going to remember the sagittal plane, okay? Because when we get to the frontal plane, you would think you'd be able to move front and back in the frontal plane. That's why we talked about that. Okay, frontal plane, here we go. We got another model. We've got that line cutting through the front half and the back half. Well, imagine that line cuts into two, and now there's a hallway with one wall in front and one wall behind. Now you can only move in this direction. Examples: jumping jacks, lateral lunges, a grapevine, as long as you have healthy balance in knees, as we have already established. But go ahead and type something into your chat box. What other kind of movements do you do side to side? Side shuffle, step touch, shuffle, roundhouse kick, meow. Grapevine. What about my strength people? Warrior 2. What about my strength people? What you got? Karaoke. No, that's okay, Alfonso. I don't know how to spell it either. It looks good to me though. Strength sports people. Got nothing for me? Lateral side raises. Now, shoulder press is we'd put that in the sagittal plane. Lateral side raises, lateral lunges, yep. Okay, so you guys, you're grasping it. Flies, yep, right? A shoulder fly right here. Okay, or a chest fly even laying down. Skaters. Good, okay, so now we're starting to think a little bit more about this stuff, okay? So sagittal plane, bow and arrow. Frontal plane, wiggle, 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 side to side wiggle, okay? The final plane is the transverse plane. This is the easy one. This is the easy one. This is you rotating. Okay, this is you doing Russian twists and any kind of rotation, right? So these are the movements that really complete the 3 planes of motion. And we have to make sure we're getting transverse plane movements into our workouts and into our movement prep even, right? We want to be able to move in all 3 planes of movement just during our movement prep, really. The exception there would be a cycle class, because you really only need to stay in that 1 plane of motion, that sagittal plane, okay? Tiffany, twerk. Okay, planes of motion and joint action. So here's some more examples, okay? And this is resources that you already have. It's just a reminder that these are the different ways that we can move in these planes of motion, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about muscle actions in the next slide. So just take a look if you want to screenshot this, just to kind of start having a library of movements. Wine! I see the wine! Yes! Atta girl! So just to have some examples of exercises to use in these different planes of motion. So, and then there's a lot of different names in here too that you're going to need to start memorizing. Flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, lateral flexion. Ah! There's a lot of stuff there. It's okay, piece by piece. We're only in week 2. We're gonna get there. All right, muscle, oh, Shannon says, best way to memorize those? Well, my dear, most of us are stuck inside of our homes, correct? Yes, we are. Go ahead, get one of these suckers right here. Start writing that ish down and start posting that crap everywhere around your house. Every time you wanna get yourself a quarantine snack, you need to make sure you've got half the house memorized. There you go. Earn your snacks. No, but in all seriousness, that is one way to do it. Put these up, you know, on your mirror. Put them on the doors that you put them at your eye level, okay, so that you're forced to see them. Put them on your fridge. Put them on your pantry. Put them on the window in front of your dishwashing. Put them on your coffee maker. Put it on your beer fridge. I don't know, whatever. Wherever you go during the day, put some stickies on and start rereading them and rereading them. This is a lot of repetition and memorization during these next 2 chapters, chapters 2 and 3. We just got to get it digested. And there's going to be some more stuff that we can do to get it in. Okay, but for right now, repetition, repetition, repetition. For those of you that are kinesthetic learners, okay, you can start moving your body while you're learning the terms. Okay, for instance, we talked about sagittal plane. Well, instead of you just reading it, okay, visual learners can just read it. Kinesthetic learners have to do this. Sagittal plane. They have to actually move their body when they're learning it. So if that's you, find ways to move your bodies in ways that match the terms, and then that'll stick in with you a little bit better. If you're an auditory learner, ask me for the link to this webinar so you can hear it again later, so you can hear me yammering on. But if you're an auditory learner, then that's how you learn, by hearing it, okay? All right, muscle actions. Muscles produce a variety of actions known as the muscle action spectrum to manipulate forces. All right, there's 3 kinds of movements: isometric, concentric, and eccentric, okay? Isometric contraction. So the muscle contracts, but it doesn't shorten. I'm sure we've all heard this term before, an isometric movement, right? It's not a real movement. You've got a muscle that's flexed, it's active, okay? But it's not moving, it's not dynamic. And there's some help in figuring out the difference in those terms as well. It's contracted. So actually right here shows you just holding on to the dumbbell with a slight bend. You have a weight at the end of your lever. This is a lever. If you have a weight at the end, you have to flex a muscle, but you're not moving. You're not doing curls. And literally, if you just hold your arm out right here, right now with nothing in it, you can feel, this is more than just your bicep, right? You can feel your tricep as well. If you're squeezing it good, you could probably feel your anterior delt, maybe even a little bit of your chest. So you got a lot of flex happening, but you ain't moving. Isometric. Another great example of this is when we are in a plank. We got a lot of stuff flexed, but we are not actually moving. Okay, so just a standard plank would be isometric. Concentric is when we are actually shortening a muscle and it's creating force, right? It's creating that strength. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So we're getting tighter when we do that. That's the flex, okay? That's getting it to go. But then the eccentric is coming back out. It's lengthening the muscle back out. All right, so a bicep curl is a really easy example. And visually, you know, look at that. Kinesthetically, do it. Okay, but then think about a different movement that we would want to do with it. Oh boy, here's a whole bunch. Right, let's just break it down to one thing, okay? Let's say that we are doing a push-up. Let's go down to push-up on the common exercise side, right? So we are going to be using the pecs, pectoralis major, okay? That is going to be concentrically accelerating shoulder flexion, because your shoulders are a huge part of a push-up. Okay, and just think about it for a second. When you do a push-up, your pecs are going to be a primary mover, right? They're going to be kind of the number one focal point. We do push-ups to make our chest stronger, but there's so much more going on. Okay, never forget that we really don't move anything in an isolated way, ever. Really, in group fitness, it's almost impossible. Okay, so pectoralis major, concentrically accelerating the shoulder flexion and horizontal adduction. It's a lot of fancy words, isn't it? It's okay, break it down. Adduction is when we bring two things together, okay? Abduction is when we bring them apart. Here's how you remember that. ADD, adduction, adding things together. Okay? Okay, so with that push-up, as we come down, what are we lengthening and what are we shortening? The things that we are shortening are concentric flex, okay? The things that we're lengthening are eccentric. So your biceps are concentric. What else? Feel it out if you need to. Okay. Each part just switches what each muscle is doing. Just feel it out. I just want you to think about it. You don't have to think too hard, but just feel it in your body for a second mentally. There you go. Good. I actually see some of you practicing. I would love that. Yep. So now I know who the kinesthetic learners are. That's okay. I am too. Okay. Let's walk away from that for a second. Let's talk about intros and outros, because this is now going to start pertaining to your homework for Saturday. Yay! All right, intros and outros. Okay, show of thumbs up. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm getting some feedback on my end. Okay, as long as you guys can hear me okay, we're good. All right, intros and outros. This is the first thing that you're going to start learning about, because from here on out, we are going to be building your first class design. Okay, this is our big project that we're doing for the rest of our time together. We're going to work on it in chunks in our webinars, and we're also going to work on it even more so as homework for labs and during our labs on Saturdays. Okay, so here's the first step. Okay, you've already decided what kind of format you want to do, and if you haven't, that's your first step. So get that locked in. Okay, then you're going to start paying attention to intros and outros. Okay, brief overview. Class introductions. This sets the tone for your whole class. It is like people are going to decide and judge on you for this whole minute that you are talking. So you are going to be amazing, and you're going to give them everything that they need in that 1 minute. Okay? Capture their attention. Show them your personality. If you're funny, be funny. If you're very educational, be educational. Be you. Let them know who you are, because you're going to tell them what to expect, not only in the words that you're saying, but in how you're saying them and what you add in besides basic information. Okay? A solid introduction might include a warm welcome, your name. How about the name of the class? Okay, write this down again now. How long is the class? That's important for people to know, because if they've walked in and expecting a 45-minute class and it's a 75-minute class, okay, guys, totally true story. So I went to Empower conference it was just like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I'm going to do something out of my comfort zone. I'm going to go to step class. I used to do step all the time, but with my knee, it wasn't so bad. But I was like, I'm going to do step class. I was like, cool, I can make it for a full hour. Got to 45 minutes and I was like, yeah, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it to the end of this hour. I'm sweating buckets. This is going to be good. We get to 59 minutes and I'm like, she's not cooling us down. What's going on? And I quickly double checked the timing of the class. It was a 75-minute step class. Okay, I made it, but I had to take a lot of Advil that night, is all I'm saying. So it would have been really important for me to know how long that class was. The instructor did not tell me how long that class was. So that's important information. That's too many steps. Seriously, I was like at 15,000 steps that day as it was. It was ridiculous. Give them an overview of the workout, the basic structure of the workout. You do not need to dive into details here. That is not the point. Okay, that's just going to be background chatter for people. But the basic structure of what the workout's going to look like. All right, guys, we're going to do 3 blocks of work. And inside of each block, we're going to do 3 movements. They're going to get more complex as we go. Your heart rate will go up higher. Something simple. Okay, just let them know what to expect. What equipment do they need? Yes, you've been telling this before you even started your intro because everybody's going to come up to you and say, well, what do I need for class today? You're going to be telling them that, but that's part of your intro too. And then maybe a motivating segue into movement prep, which is our fancy language for warm-up. Okay, so getting that transition to happen between, hi, my name is Erin, and today we're going to do barbell strength. This is a strength endurance class. You need the iron grip equipment. It's going to be for 60 minutes. We're going to lift weights to music. You see your neighbor next to you? That's right. Go ahead and wink at him because you two are going to be best friends by the end of this, or not. You might be enemies. I don't know, but we're going to keep going, right? I don't know, find some way to interact with your community as well. So in Lifetime, we talk about the 4 different types of people, okay? We talk about there being the director, the thinker, the relator, and the socializer. And generally speaking, pretty much everybody fits into a couple of these categories. So think about yourself for just a second. If you know what these are, which 2 do you gravitate towards? Okay, your director is the person that needs to know that they can trust you, that you're going to start on time, that you're going to end on time, that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Okay, they're the rule followers in the world, and they need to know you're going to follow most, if not all, of the rules. Okay, the thinkers. These are the people that overanalyze everything, that overthink, that might even have anxiety or worry, right? They're the ones that need to know the plan. They need to know what's coming so they can mentally and physically prepare themselves for it. They're the ones that need to know the structure of the workout, okay? Then we have our relators. These are the people that want to know that you have something in common with them, right? Like, oh man, we're going to have fun today. And if you want to build muscle, you're in the right place. That kind of thing. We want to be related to you and to the people around us in some way. We want to feel connected. Notice I say we because that's totally what I am. Then we have the socializers. Those are the people that are there for community. They might not even be there to work their butt off. They might not be the person that loves to do high intensity interval training, but they're there because they're with a community of people that they are connected to. So those are the people that are you're gonna be like, oh, hey, high five your neighbor. And they're gonna be like, yeah, right? They're the ones that do it. Your directors are like, no. But your socializers are like, yeah. So think about all 4 types of those people when you're doing your intro. How do you talk to all 4 of them? And then know which ones you are and plan your intro for the ones that you are not. Because that's the trick, okay? I'm a relator and a socializer. So I have to make sure I give the time of the class, the structure of the class. I don't normally think about that. I don't normally care about that stuff as a participant. So I have to think about that and make sure I do it. And you want to think about the same thing as you're getting through your outro. So the outro is kind of intermingled with the cool down, right? Because no longer are you giving a ton of cues and a ton of choreography. Now you're getting them through stretches and you're getting a chance to talk to them, right? After you all went through this experience together, how are you going to bring everybody back together? So things to think about. Leave them on a high note. Say, hey, you guys, nice job. You survived that 75-minute psychotic step class with me. Bravo. Bravo. Let's go have a Bloody Mary, right? Like, I don't know, say something to congratulate them. Let them know that they're done. Be very clear. Yes, we are done. Suggest what's next. Hey, you guys, AMP was awesome tonight. I can't wait to show you the new playlist we've got next week. Come for it. We're going to have plenty of Lady Gaga. And if you don't like Lady Gaga, we're also going to play Queen. So there you go, right? Like, tease them a little. Let them know what's coming next, inspiring them to come back. So a great outro might include confirmation the workout's complete in some way, complimenting them, giving them positive statements, right? Inviting them to come back. Literally sometimes if you just say, hey, I'd love to see you next week. Let's stay consistent with our workouts and see what happens. Sometimes that's enough. Literally just inviting them back. They just want to be invited back. Requesting for feedback and asking questions. If you're comfortable with that, totally go for it. And at the beginning of your career, I think this goes both ways. If you mention that in your outro, be ready to get feedback because you'll get it if you ask for it. And at the beginning, sometimes it's hard. You're going to have to develop a little bit of tough skin because there will be people out there that don't care how you feel and they're going to tell you how they feel. I'm sorry for that. But if you are open to that feedback and you're feeling like you're ready to take it on, go for it. There's usually a nugget of truth somewhere in that feedback. Find the nugget, get rid of the extraneous, okay? All right. Introduction to group fitness music. This is very brief, okay, because we will dig more into this later, but I need you to start thinking about the music you're going to start using as you practice your movements and as you start planning your class design, okay? So things to think about. You guys already know music selection is vital in every group fitness class that we teach, no matter what kind of a class it is. Even if it's kind of background music, having the right music can push people through some really tough spots, okay? All right, class format. Take a picture of this if you like. These are the general guidelines that AFA recommends for these kinds of formats to keep it safe and effective. Do we get that? Okay, Cleo says, do we get that from Lifetime or can we create our own playlist? We're gonna get there, Cleo. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Great questions. So things to think about. What is my format gonna be? Okay, what's the energy of my class? Is it more mind-body? Is it, party on a bike? Is it, bust your ass and lift some heavy weights? Because those all have different energies. Participant demographics, like I said, hydro fitness. I have different playlists for my hydro fitness classes. They like different stuff, okay? So just on the right, this is the general AFA guidelines, okay? When you get into Lifetime and you start doing specific certifications, we give you even smaller ranges for very specific classes. For instance, strike kickboxing is 136 beats per minute, period, end of story, okay? That has to do with the equipment we use. So you'll see as you do other kinds of classes and formats that it might get to be a little bit more specific based on the, type of movement that you've got and the equipment that you've got in your hands. Okay, so this is cool. Where do we start looking? Now, Cleo, for right now, you guys are going to be looking for your own music resources, stuff that you like on your own, okay? Because I want you to be able to know how to find the resources, whether you work at Lifetime or not, okay? This is your base foundation education. If you do work with Lifetime, there are several formats that we do create playlists for. For instance, Strike. You can get pre-made barbell playlists for barbell strength, although you do want to eventually learn how to make your own for that. So again, you're always going to be coming back to being able to do it on your own first, and then taking help and assistance when it's available, right? And since you guys are already in learning mode, I'm going to encourage you to get through this learning how to do it on your own first. Okay. All right. So here's some music resources for you. Yes, fitness music. This is my favorite 32 count group. This is 32 count music. You just can go and start exploring. There's pre-made mixes on there. You can also do custom mixes on there. Very affordable. I pay $15 per custom playlist that I make. I pick my own songs. It crossfades all of it for you. Beautiful. They also have an app that you play it all through. So I just literally, it's all on my app. I don't have to put it on a CD. I don't even have to download it onto my computer. I can change beats per minute through the app. Pretty neat. 32 Mix is another awesome resource, okay? Those are all, you can custom make those, but it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So that's more like looking for pre-made mixes, okay? Instructor music, power music. Those are pretty similar to 32 Mix. Now, this available on Spotify playlist is one that our education director has curated for you. But I have a surprise for you in just a second. All right, now everybody that's on chat box, I'm going to send you the sheet that you're going to need for your homework assignments moving forward, because that's our next slide. But it's also going to have a Spotify link for you to click on, okay, where you can go and see a 32 count playlist that's just free on Spotify, so that you at least know where to find the free stuff for right now before you feel like you need to, you know, drop 15 bucks on some music. Wait until you know what kind of music that you like, okay? Okay. I'm going to send it in a different version too. I've got a PDF file because I have a Mac. Probably some of y'all don't have a Mac. Do you notice what I called the file? COVID-19 homework. Okay, so that's the PDF file in the chat box. Go ahead and grab it. That being said, if you can't grab it off the chat box, just shoot me an email later. I'll be sending this out again tomorrow. Okay, but for now, hang on to that. Start exploring. Okay. There is not a copy of the PowerPoint. Sorry, Cleo, this is proprietary and I'm not allowed to hand it out, but I have been recording this webinar and it's gonna be put up on YouTube once I get it all loaded. So you'll be able to go back and look at it. I'm not seeing the links, that's all right. I will email it to you, okay? All right, let's talk about Live Lab. We are doing things differently this time than we have in the past. Obviously, right? That's like, obviously, this is different. So here is what we are going to do. We normally have lab for a total of 3 hours when you are able to be in the club with your live lab facilitators. And y'all got some really amazing live lab facilitators that I am so bummed we cannot use right now. They are all on furlough. That started on Monday. So we are going to rise to the occasion and we're going to get everything that we need out of these live labs together. You're going to be stuck with this face. But I promise I will comb my hair between now and Saturday. Deal? I will do something fancy. Oh, can't hear me? All right. Okay, wait, I didn't say much. Did I freeze? Am I back? Can I have a thumbs up if I am moving? We are back. Okay. Sorry. All right, so Saturday, I said, I promise I will comb my hair. That's pretty much what you missed. But we're going to meet on Saturday. Here are the split times. We're each going to get an hour together. 1 to 2 p.m. Colorado cohort, Massachusetts cohort, and Texas cohort. We are all going to be together from 1 to 2 p.m. Okay. 2 to 3 p.m. Minnesota, big cohort, all you, from 2 to 3. Okay. Nope, nothing I do is Eastern time. It is all Central Standard Time, but that was a great question. I live in Chicago, so I am Central Standard Time. 3 to 4 p.m. will be all of the online students. That includes my Northbrook peeps. Woo, woo. Okay, that is how we are going to separate it. Now, it's going to be in this exact same Zoom room, so you've already got this address. This is where we're meeting from this point on. Okay. Let's talk about how we're going to do this though. All right, we're going to have 1 hour together over Zoom to work on some things together. Please be in an open space so that you can move around. We're going to move. Okay, we got to do that. That's a huge part of our live labs. Well, Kelsey, because normally it is 3 hours. Okay, I can't do 3 hours back to back with all of the groups, and I don't want to do a live lab 39 people because then you're not going to get what you need out of it. So here's the plan. Cool. And these are okay. These are all valid questions. Here's the plan. I'm going to be doing some videotaping for you tomorrow so that you have a couple very specific videos that you can watch and do. It's going to be a physical do video so that we can start learning about musicality, okay, and cueing and movement when it comes to our music. How are we going to start putting these things together? That's really what the first lab is about, okay? So on your pre-lab homework, you're going to research your music. You're going to find a 32 count mix that you like and that you are going to be using moving forward when you're doing your practicing at home, because you're going to be practicing at home. You're going to recruit every single animal in that house to do group fitness with you, or children. Same thing though. I have 2 of those. Okay, you're going to be watching the assigned YouTube videos and take notes on the intros and outros. So that was on that sheet that I put on there, but I'm going to resend that sheet to you via email, okay? It will all be on there. Okay, so what I've done is I've assigned you some YouTube videos from master trainers. So there's one class from me, there's a class from Jasmine De La Cruz, who is our Texas facilitator, one of them, and then Katie Haggerty, who is one of our huge master trainers in the Minnesota region. 3 classes there, and I'm working on getting you a cycle class as well, in case you are interested in doing cycle. I want you to be able to see different types of classes. I've given you timestamps on your homework sheet for those YouTube videos. You're gonna go watch the timestamps and you're gonna take notes on the introductions that they do and the outros that they do. That's it, okay? You don't need to watch the whole 45-minute, 60-minute video. We're not gonna do that, don't worry. If you want to, that's fine. That's fine, but that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm asking you to do is to focus on the intros and the outros for right now, okay? You're going to take that stuff that you write down and start noticing, because it's 3 very different instructors with different styles, okay? And you're going to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. There's a list of questions on your homework sheet that are going to help guide you in what notes that you take. Yeah? Okay, we've got that part down. Then you're going to write your own intro and outro. You're going to bring that to lab ready to go. Cool? Okay. Viewing the tutorial videos that will be sent out to you tomorrow evening via email. So you'll get another email tomorrow night. I just haven't had time to record them yet. Okay. I'm going to be recording a couple of things that I'm going to have you watch. Those will be the interactive videos that are going to help you start understanding 32 count music. Okay, everybody take a deep breath. It's like drinking from a fire hose, isn't it? Like, and then on top of that, like maybe you just have a little squirrel syndrome. Squirrel, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's see what questions we have right now. Your daughter's gonna love this. You're right, Cleo, she about to get her gym time in. This should count towards their PE credits. All right, question. Claire, I already have Spotify Premium because we use that to create our solid core playlist. Can I use that for music? Yes, you can. Absolutely, Spotify Premium is a must on my list. Absolutely, you will use it, even if you're not using it directly for the middle of classes, you'll use it for pre-class, you know, you'll use it for cool down music, you'll use it for all of that stuff. I don't even think you need this. So, but here's what I will, why don't I just show you? If you have to go, that's totally cool. I get it. Email me if you need to boogie early. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to show you something different so that you can see. There we go. Okay, this is the homework sheet that I'm sending to you. Okay, so you can see number 1, access the following videos on YouTube. Take notes on what is said during the intro, cool down, and outro. So there's your questions to help guide you. Okay, and there's the videos with the links that you can, they're just hyperlinks, so you can just click right on them. And notice video 1, intro, is start to 1:10, right? So it's all you got to watch. Cool down and outro, 57:28 to the end. That's it. Same thing with the other 2. Okay? All right, find 32 count music. So I've put those hyperlinks in there from the presentation that we just gave, but then also there's this Spotify list right here. Okay, this is going to take us, now I'm going to have to switch my share, but hang on. I'll show you what came up, okay? This is what comes up. So Power Music is on our list that you can go and buy music from, but if you have Spotify, this is one of the very few 32 count music companies that actually has stuff on Spotify, okay? All right, so let's switch over to Spotify. All right, so now we can see Power Music Workout. So the thing that you're going to look at here is you want to be looking at albums in totality, not individual songs. So this top part right here, ignore it. These are individual songs and they will do nothing to serve you during this. You need to go down here and find a full album. Silver Seniors, 32 count edition. These have to be played in order on the album because there's a crossfade that happens between the songs. That's why it's 32 count music. There is no break in the music. You can barely even tell when you switch to a new song. Okay, so that's why you have to go into these, find the albums, and literally play it not on shuffle. So right now I'm on shuffle. I'd have to take it off in order to make sure that it plays straight through. But this is the free stuff. And there's some decent stuff in here. There really is. This was the one I was listening to today. Like Purple Hat is the second song on here. I mean, so this is up to date. Okay. Okay, let's see what questions we've got. Does iTunes offer something like this? No, not as far as I know. However, I will say this, I don't use Apple Music, is what I think you're referring to. So if anybody knows more about Apple Music, head to it. Kelsey, that is underneath an artist. The artist is Power Music Workout. Power Music Workout. It will be on the homework sheet. The hyperlink is on there. Okay, so you'll have that. So don't stress. So that's just, I think, a great place for you to go for the free stuff right away while you're exploring it. Okay. Jill, a little confused with all the different documents for this course. Me too. Keeping all my files straight on the computer is getting complex. So there are live lab prep documents posted online. Should we not be doing these? Okay, so you are, there it is. You are referring to here we go. All right, week 2. Right, so at the bottom, what she's talking about here, if you haven't looked this far ahead, is live lab practical way. Okay, yeah, this is different, okay? This is gonna be, for your own edification, it would be extra credit, I guess is the best way to put it. Extra credit, okay? It's a document that you have to download. So if I click on it, it won't open, but. So that's what she's talking about. There is stuff on there, okay? That is, so that's gonna give you just some guidance and direction in what to start looking for in classes. That's what those are for. So it's gonna help you think about like your why. Why do I wanna be your fitness instructor? Getting to know formats, like what class do I prefer? So it's kind of stuff we've already kind of gone over. It just gives you an actual worksheet to write down if you'd like that, okay? And then it'll talk about movement transition and movement prep, but we will get into that in our live lab together without that stuff. But you can start thinking about that stuff, absolutely. Okay, it looks like Apple Music does have most of the same playlists that Erin was just showing. Good, cool. That was very helpful, Danielle. Thank you. I use Apple Music for some things, and there are a few Yep, perfect. Okay, so if we don't fully complete those from last week, that is, if we didn't fully complete those, Claire, where are you? There you are. Claire, I'm taking you off mute. Can you clarify, Claire? That was bad.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Because I can't hear myself. I just meant when we were talking about those live lab things that are listed on at the bottom, the ones from last week, I think you were just talking about one of them. So if we didn't get through all of those from last week, that's okay.
Yeah.
They're more like extra.
Yep. They're
Okay.
extra guidance for you. Okay. So there's
Okay.
nothing wrong with doing them, but you won't need to turn those in. They won't count towards your grade. Okay.
Right. Okay. Because I did some of them. It was like that questionnaire, but then there were questions about like, finding your mentor and all these things, and then something about going to attend to classes, and none of us can do that right now. And I was like, I don't know what to do. There's a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to be
Yeah,
sure.
that is so not the COVID-19 friendly version of what we're doing. But these are all very valid questions, you guys. And I know that it's a little bit confusing, especially these first couple of weeks. Number one, you had to learn how to work a whole different online platform, right? Like you had to get into LMS and you had to figure out how to maneuver through that. How do you download stuff? What am I supposed to be doing this week? Blah, 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 blah. It's okay if you're confused, if you have questions. That's okay. That's what this time is for right now.